When it comes to my vehicles, I've always had a bigger is better mantra, but this week I may have gotten a little bit more than I can handle. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2020 Ford F350 Super Duty, specifically in the Tremor edition. Now what that pretty much means is I got the good old tape out, well, to see how this big boy measures up. So when it comes to the F350, it's really all about the numbers, how big this vehicle measures up. But before we get there, well, this vehicle has a presence on the road and off. And well, when it's off-road, well, it doesn't tread lightly, leaving a little bit of, well, it's marked, but well, that's to be expected. But what I liked is I pretty much kept this on the beaten path for the most part and had good roadworthiness. I didn't feel like I had to, well, muscle it around. And even though it does, well, measure up, well, it did kind of scale down, mainly because of its overall innovations there on the inside. Vehicles from the good old days where you had to kind of scratch and feel your way through. Well, technology is making this vehicle feel so much smaller. Now this is the crew cab model with the short wheelbase, which measured in around about 159 inches. As for overall length, pushing just over 24 feet, or nearly about the full length of my tape measure. As for width and height, about equal, around about 80 inches the width. That's not including the mirrors. Ground clearance, just under 9 inches. At the four corners, you have 285/75 wrapping an 18-inch wheel, but for this novice, it really comes down to just the size of this tire, measuring in around about 32 inches tall and about 10 inches wide. Also, with this jacked up feel to this vehicle, tons of travel with this front and rear end. Around about 8 to 9 inches of spacing underneath this wheel well, and about 11 to 12 there at the back end. Now with this overall lift on this vehicle, for anybody wanting to climb inside, it could be a running, jumping affair. Basically, about 9 inches of ground clearance only gives you part of the overall look. What you're seeing is about 24 inches just to step inside this vehicle. But naturally what helps with that is right here at the door. This nice step rail that, well, drops into place. That takes that 2-foot lift, well, to around about, well, 15 inches, and easily making a nice scamper inside. Now for this Tremor edition, this has an off-road package, really accounting for this overall lift that you're seeing. Now in a lot of typical trucks that are lower to the ground, you're gonna have easy access here from the side, maybe to grab your tools or what have you. But with this lift, that's really gonna be kind of a cumbersome approach because, well, you're pushing around about 5 feet off the ground just to get an item into the truck from the side. So naturally, the point of entry here at the tailgate area. Now what I like is trucks are getting a lot more advanced, going to electronic releases. This locks up with the vehicle. So naturally, this is just going to ease down into place. Now, once this is in place, you're still seeing a lot of lift just to get to the tailgate, specifically around about 40 inches. And if you notice there, the bumper is pretty much right there on the side. No steps, no niches to climb in either, nor really any grab handles. Pretty much meaning you're going to access this physically right here at the back. And what that means is a nice drop down step. Now that's going to go from about 40 inches up here to around about just about 2 feet to step in. Not a bad option. And naturally there's a nice handle here that's going to make it even more safe. Now when it comes to the measurements here, I'm giving you the layman's approach because pretty much I keep a tape measure with me when I'm in the big boy trucks because, well, this is what gets the job done and also reminds me of, well, what might fit back here. Now what you're going to find between the walls is around about 66 inches, easily going to handle a 4x8 sheet of plywood up above. But what we have between here, even better, still above 4 feet, around about 50 inches. That means full planks of plywood slide in with ease, to be expected on a full-size truck like this. Now overall bed length right there to the tailgate, not too shabby, around about 82, 81 inches. Obviously getting a lot more extension there with the tailgate down, giving you an extra, well, about 2 feet, really pushing the length that you're going to need. Even more specifically, those 8-foot boards fitting inside this vehicle when the tailgate's down. Now it's all about the anchor points when you've got items back here, and you got these nice beefy anchor points here on the upper portion and down at the proverbial corner, so you can really strap things down when you need to. This particular model also coming ready with the gooseneck approach and fifth wheel apparatus and the tie-ins right here for trailering. So pretty much this vehicle is a beast when it comes to towing. Now, when everything is closed up, don't forget you do have the traditional niche here on the rear bumper. Nice non-slick surface both here and with the spray-in bed liner. But of course, when the tailgate's down, that middle step really going to make things so much easier. Do have the tow capabilities, of course, connectors right here. And for safety, backup sensors, backup camera. But the cameras go one step further. And again, what I alluded to at the beginning of the show is that this vehicle feels so much more scaled down, not just because of one camera, but maybe because of the many. Now, for Super Duty trucks, it's not just about the brawn, but also the brains. Tons of innovation, safety features, and it all starts right here on the outside with smart key systems. And what I like is it's very intuitive. Pretty much slide your hand in, it knows you're there, unlocks all the doors with ease. As you walk away, press right there, locks right up. The only thing I always say is the one Achilles heel is the access point is not at every door, only the front doors. But again, it's not that hard just to reach here and then gain access. One thing that's kind of a throwback Thursday that I kind of wish they'd get rid of is the combination locking. It's right here on the door pillar and you can just type it in. I've never used this specifically, but I guess they are kind of a nifty feature. If this doesn't work, your key doesn't work, and well, you'd rather just punch in some numbers. Now, the width on this truck is about just under 80 inches, and well, that's not including, well, these offerings here on the side, these mirrors that will push out about 15 inches. But what's great, with the press of a button, these will fold in, or manually if you forget as you're walking by. That's just going to help tuck things in. And when you're in those tight spots, specifically at the mall where this vehicle may feel out of place, well, this is going to be kind of a cordial gesture to your, well, partners parked beside you. Now, the big conversation this week wasn't, well, the size of this vehicle, but really what lies beneath this hood, specifically a Power Stroke turbo diesel engine, a 6.7 liter V8. Now, it's going to deliver on about 475 horses, but a jaw-dropping 1,050 foot-pounds of torque. Now, this particular model was equipped with a 3.55 axle ratio, which gives it a towing capability of around about 15,000 pounds of traditional towing. But if you do want to go with that kind of fifth wheel gooseneck option, well, that's going to take it over 20,000 pounds and pretty much make this bad boy feel like a beast. But don't get me wrong, it is fairly docile behind the wheel and has kind of a bedside manner with the rumble. But once you couple it up, well, it's all business. Now, at night, our vehicles can be a totally different beast, very difficult to interact with, but the F350 really illuminates the exterior. First off, the grille warfare really sets the tone. Obviously, the running lights up top, but the perimeter lighting really allows the driver and occupants to feel safe, really illuminating all the regular around this vehicle, even right down to the interior. When you go inside, the vehicle really is just fully illuminated. Oftentimes with darker interiors, whatever have you, the LED lights just fall short. But naturally what you're seeing here is just great illumination, both in the front and the back, because the one Achilles heel is just not being able to operate this vehicle visually at all times of the day and night. Obviously that extends back here to the bed area, the business side of things. This vehicle gets the job done 24/7. Now, the lighting for the F350 is much more than just creature comfort. It's also about the workability of this truck. And where it starts is really here on the left side of the dash with these two buttons, these spotlights that are built onto the exterior mirrors. Now, once you turn them on, what you're really going to notice is the huge amount of light that is cast forward. Now, most of this is the headlights that are turned on, really illuminating your job site or whatever. But it comes also right from this mirror, just a nice spotlight that illuminates forward, or if you close the door and push these mirrors back to the side. But again, this just adds to the overall workability of this truck. Now, a lot of work goes on at the front of the truck, but just as much goes on here at the business end. Now, we already talked about the lighting there on the upper portion of the cab, but there's also one positioned here on the tailgate. And what it does is really illuminates here at the back end. Again, for safety, being able to walk up to the truck if it's dark like it is now, and obviously being able to find your place with the rear handle. Now, once it lowers, what you're going to notice with that upper lighting on the cab is it really illuminates even this darkened surface, just tons of lighting. but it can go a step further. Over here on the side, you do have these lights that point back towards the cab, and there's actually a power switch right there that turns them on. Once it's illuminated, now you've really got kind of a surround lighting that again really illuminates with this dark surface. Now, one big feature on the crew cab is literally the ability to handle the crew. Naturally, you're seeing space for 3 grown adults across and plenty of legroom, no knee bleeding affair behind the seat. Now, what you're going to see here is just under 41 inches of legroom comparative to the front, just under 44 inches. So not a lot of difference. That front seat obviously giving a little bit of to and fro actually will give about equal space between the front and the back. Now, what you also have back here is decent comfort. Now, you got a typical cab at the back, so these seats aren't going to recline, but if you're headed to the job site, no time for snoozing anyway. But you can transform this from people to cargo, because on rainy days, this actually becomes where the cargo is handled. And what you're going to notice is one fell swoop, everything locks into place, and pretty much a nice seamless floor from front to back. But you also have this area here that can help store extra items. Basically lift that right up. This now becomes kind of a cargo niche, and obviously locking into place so it's not flimsy, but obviously going right under the seat bottoms. So again, you can put some items stowed away, and also becomes like a lockable area. Now, one thing that really is lacking on a lot of trucks is a tri-zone system. With the amount of space from front to back, it does take airflow quite a bit of time to get back here in a traditional sense. But what I like on bigger trucks like this is they put the venting right behind the center console. It really gets exactly to where the people are. Obviously, on cool days, you do have the heated seats for the outer occupants. Another big thing to talk about is connectivity. You do have traditional USBs, USB-Cs right on this side, and traditional power outlet over on this side, as well as a car outlet up top. So really tons of connectivity that everyone can charge up, again, on the way to the job site. Now, for any vehicle that doesn't have enough cup holders, that can be a problem, especially on a F350 with the crew leaving the job site and they want to quench their thirst. But thankfully, this vehicle truly delivers. Now, what you have up front for the front occupants, obviously 2 cup holders. I'll show you another exciting little area as well. 2 right here between the front seats, as well as this center console that flips down and has these spring outs that come here. Now, this obviously is not going to be in place if you have 3 across, but when needed, it is an extra 2. Now, not to over dramatize the need for cup holders, but well, up here, first off, you do have the 2 nice springy material grips your drink with ease, but in one fell swoop, you now have 4. And in some cases, this is a necessity because, well, you just have too many drinks. Maybe you're a big gulp on this side and just a little one on that side. But again, just tons of options for the thirsty crew. Now, I mentioned earlier that this vehicle really has that surround view camera system that makes it feel so much more scaled down than it obviously truly is. And where it is right here on this big screen up top, and when you need it, you can press that button right there. Now, what this does is really give you that front camera now that we're in kind of park mode, and again, the 360 view all the way around. Naturally, if you put it in reverse, that's going to give you the backup camera, still again the surround view. We found this to be very beneficial, getting those tight spots, seeing the white lines in the parking space, because nothing, well, screams I'm not a good truck driver when you crisscross the white lines and make everyone else mad. So if you can really get between the lines with the F350, well, you kind of get a that a boy from everyone around you. When it comes to the infotainment system, first off, you have this nice home screen split, so you have lots of information going on. Also, the shortcuts down below. Naturally, if you press, you're going to get a full screen, real easy to navigate, and I like the color and the intensity. Now, down below, traditional knobs, huge volume select and tune, as well as some shortcuts in the middle. Traditional climate controls down below, and you do have the temperature select, which does relate to the screen up above. So as you change the temperature, you don't have to glance down all the way down there as a driver, instead keeping kind of a more of a heads up looking here at the dash. Now, the only thing I don't like is the small buttons for the fan speed. Don't understand why you don't have nice big temperature knobs as well as a fan speed knob, but again, once you get used to kind of navigating to it, obviously it becomes a little bit easier. Cooled and heated seats for both front occupants, as well as the mode select right through the middle. For connectivity up front, you do have USB, USB-C, but better yet is the wireless charging right there beside it. Just simply take your so-equipped phone, place it right up there. In just a couple seconds, it lets you know you're charging. Now, we didn't do any towing this week, but there is this nice trailer assist. What I understand is you use this for the steering mechanism instead of traditional steering wheel, and there's instructions that go along with it as you're performing. Makes life so much easier for those that are a little nervous around backing up a trailer. Tons of buttons here on the steering wheel on the right side, primarily for your entertainment, down below for phone, left side for cruise. And what's great on this vehicle is it had that adaptive cruise control to pretty much set the spacing between you and other vehicles, and allows this vehicle to set the pace. This up here changes the nice digital display there between the gauges. When it comes to gauge cluster, standard analog tach and speedometer, but not standard is that nice oversized LCD display right in the middle. Gives you tons of other gauges as well, but most specifically what I like is that digital readout for speed. That does for this edition of Road Warrior, and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2020 Ford F350 Super Duty Tremor Edition, which, well, rises to a new occasion and, well, pulls anything you could possibly want. But what we truly liked is how docile it was when you climb inside, and with all the innovations, it really scales this vehicle down. Now, your passenger co-pilot may get a little nervous as you go to park it in the tight spots, but just kind of steer with your one finger and we'll tell them to calm it down. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.